Bitcoin pod, let's go. In today's show, Bitcoin price settles at 26,500 as key Fed inflation week dawns. And check this out, Max Keiser and Javier Milei have a very similar vibe and a similar message that the central banks are poison. Bitcoin fixes this. We'll also discuss U.S. lawmakers' advanced legislation blocking the digital dollar, as well as CBDC pilots are now being tested by 3 central banks, according to SWIFT. We'll also be sharing the state destroys the wealth, according to Javier Milei. I'll be breaking down his latest in Argentina's ongoing inflation crisis, as well as unexpected explosive Bitcoin rally to $150,000 per coin is now on the cards as Bitcoin price rides hot inflation data, according to Glassnode founders. We'll also be discussing the latest from Michael Saylor, predicting the Bitcoin price will hit $5 million per coin. That's right. I'll be breaking down his latest 2024 Bitcoin price prediction, which I just transcribed and it's never been shared before. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this plus so much more in today's show. And a quick reminder to smash that like button to receive daily premium crypto news alerts every single day, 7 days a week, just like this. And also, if you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button as it helps out tremendously. And there is a new channel I recently created, which is called Crypto News Alerts Clips, where I'm uploading clips and shorts every single day taken from the daily live stream. I also greatly appreciate your support on the new channel. Now, welcome everyone just joining us. This is pod episode number 1404. I'm your host, JV. Today is September 17th, 2023, and I have lots to cover, so let's dive right in. As you can see here in our market watch, we got Bitcoin and most of the major cryptos currently correcting and in the red. And checking out coinmarketcap.com, we're sitting just above that $1 trillion milestone, which has been pretty stagnant for quite some time, with about 16.5 billion in volume in the past 24 hours, with the Bitcoin dominance at 49% and the Ether dominance 18.5%. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers of the past 24 hours, we have Kronos leading the pack, but barely, just up 0.6%, trading at 5 cents, followed by Casper up 0.5%, trading at 3.3 cents, followed by BNB up 0.75%, trading at 216 bucks. So very modest gains as most of the alts are correcting in the red. As you can see here on Crypto Bubbles, there's really not much in the green at all as the bloodshed continues. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, we're currently rated a 46, which is fear. Yesterday a 43, last week a 40, and last month a 37 in fear. So there you have it. Welcome everyone just joining us. Make sure to say hello in that live chat. Don't be a stranger. And at the end of the show, I'll be reading everyone's comments out loud. Also, let me know where you're tuning from. If you didn't know, I broadcast live every single day here from my home office in Puerto Rico. Now let's dive into today's technical analysis and check out the charts and where the Bitcoin price action is likely trending next, shall we? Here we go. Bitcoin circled 26.5 into the September 17th weekly close after the new September highs gave way to calmer conditions, as you can see here in the Bitcoin 1-hour candle chart. Now, data from Cointelegraph and TradingView showed Bitcoin price performance stabilizing over the weekend. The largest crypto had seen a trip to 26,880 just 2 days ago, this marking its highest level for the month thus far. And summarizing the state of the Binance order book, we have trader Credible Crypto, who noted that a cluster of bid liquidity was buoying the market. Quoting the analyst here, some seller absorption is happening here. This level is being defended ATM. He goes on to share some seller absorption happening, this level being defended, not much below it. And if so, it's lost. It could probably see a nice flush to the downside target. Been fun watching this, but I'm going to call it tonight. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Hopefully a slow weekend so we can just chill. And he shares all of this data. So ultimately, amid the consolidatory movement, another analyst, Crypto Tony, eyed 2 potential scenarios with 26,000 still holding a support. Either way, quoting him here, I'm still looking for that dip down to 26.1 and a bounce for the long trigger. Either that or we just reclaim 26.6 highs and I will look to long. Now, looking more closely at the exchange behavior, we had Scoo, who highlighted specific short-term trends amongst the traders with spot entities selling into the bounces, as outlined here in this chart and analysis. Now, can the FOMC shift the Bitcoin price range? Let's touch upon it. Beyond the weekly close, the crypto market participants were eagerly awaiting for the coming week's key macroeconomic event from the United States Fed. The Federal Open Market Committee meeting is September 20th, just 3 days out, and it's set to decide the benchmark interest rates, with markets overwhelmingly expecting them to remain unchanged. So according to the CME Group's FedWatch tool, it puts the odds of a surprise scenario at just 2%. And as reported, Bitcoin recently cooled its knee-jerk reactions to the macro data prints. And going into the FOMC, some believe that the status quo should or would remain. Quoting them here, next week's FOMC and interest rate decisions should induce some volatility, but Bitcoin will likely continue to trade within the 25 to 27 range in the short term. So there you have it. Let me know if you agree or disagree with this analysis. And check this out. Shout out to Max Kaiser. He shared some videos of very similar toxic energy to Javier Milei. And if you're not familiar with Javier Milei, he is the pro-presidential candidate who is winning the majority vote right now in Argentina and may become the next president. Max said Max and Milei have a similar vibe and a similar message that the central banks are poising. Bitcoin fixes this. And he also points out in 2014, he talked to his friend who hashtag Rusty Rockets here, who is Russell Brand, about fiat money, central banks, and off camera. Max gifted him 1,000 BTC. I must say, Max has to be the most incredible friend in the world. Wouldn't you agree? He gave his friend Alex Jones 10,000 BTC as a gift, and he gave Russell Brand 1,000 BTC as a gift. Now, if you don't know, there are some allegations of some rape-like charges, which really sucks, especially if it's not true. And I find this actually interesting. Max says friends don't abandon friends based on accusations, something very common amongst frightened cuck Brits. Sadly, Americans are made of sterner stuff. And even Elon Musk says, I support Russell Brand. That man is not evil. So it seems the forces of evil, or the powers that be, seem to be setting him up potentially, just like they did Andrew Tate and many other influential people who speak out about the status quo and like to spread the truth. But anyways, now let's break down our next story of the day and discuss a digital dollar alert. Digital dollar just means the digital version of this fiat Ponzi scheme dollar. And then we'll dive into the latest with the CBDC's testing phase taking place right now, followed by an inflation crisis, followed by a $150,000 Bitcoin price prediction according to Glassnode, followed by the latest 2024 Bitcoin price prediction by Michael Saylor that the Bitcoin price is going to reach north of $5 million per coin. And again, welcome to y'all just joining in. Make sure to say hello in that live chat. Don't be a stranger. The U.S. State of House of Financial Services Committee is moving forward with legislation aimed at preventing the issuance of a central bank digital currency. That's what's up. According to the announcement from Chairman Patrick McHenry, the committee will mark up two bills about a potential digital dollar on September 20th, 3 days out. Markups are sessions in which the lawmakers discuss the details of the bill. It is a crucial step before the legislation moves to the House floor. Now, one of the bills is the Digital Dollar Pilot Prevention Act, or H.R. 3712, which prohibits the Fed from initiating pilot programs to test CBDCs without approval first from Congress. The legislation was introduced by Representative Alex Mooney back in May. Now, the Fed recently denied any decision on whether to issue a CBDC, claiming it would only proceed with the issuance of a CBDC with an authorizing law. However, the Fed of San Francisco had sought to fill technical positions for a CBDC project over the past few months, indicating the digital dollar currently remains on the table. Now, the second legislation is an amendment to the Federal Reserve Act prohibiting Fed banks from offering certain products or services directly to an individual, along with prohibiting the use of CBDCs for monetary policy and for other purposes. Quoting them here, a Federal Reserve Bank shall not offer a central bank digital currency or any digital asset that is substantially similar under any other name or label indirectly to the individual through a financial institution or other intermediary, reads the bill. The prospect of a digital dollar has stirred ongoing controversy in the U.S. Presidential candidates such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Ron DeSantis have both spoken out against the establishment of CBDCs in the country, citing financial privacy concerns, to say the least. So Also, supporters of CBDCs claim it would help the U.S. to keep the dollar's global relevance, as well as boost cryptocurrency adoption. Now, I've been telling you here on the show about the warnings and concerns of CBDCs as well. So it's good to see someone in Congress putting together a bill to protect us. Obviously, we don't want these. This is enslavement of the matrix system, controllable, programmable, digital fiat money scheme, which they are going to use to try to control you. Whoever controls the money supply controls the people. How do you escape this matrix with the escape valve? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is literally the antidote to the CBDCs. And what's even more alarming, there's a pilot program running right now where they're testing CBDCs. The central banks are doing that in real time. So let's break this down next regarding the latest with the CBDC ongoing testing. According to SWIFT, 3 central banks have launched new pilots for CBDCs, according to the announcement from the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, better known as SWIFT. In the new announcement, they say it had entered a new phase of work on CBDC interoperability, and that a trio of central banks are beta testing new systems for interlinking the CBDCs, with 30 financial institutions exploring further use cases. SWIFT says that the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and the National Bank of Kyrgyzstan have begun integrating the new solution with their own infrastructure for direct testing. The third central bank was left unnamed by SWIFT in the announcement. Which bank do you think that is, fam? So says Tom Jalef, Chief Innovation Officer at SWIFT, shared the following. Our focus is on interoperability, ensuring that the new digital currencies can seamlessly coexist with each other with today's fiat-based currencies and payment systems. The financial community had already recognized the strong potential for our CBDC innovations for preventing digital islands while security bridging the payment systems of today and the future. This next phase of testing and exploration will help us further refine the solution to ensure it is as effective as possible and at scale. Now, SWIFT says that since there will be so many different CBDCs, with nearly 130 countries actively exploring the tech, there may be fragmentation issues when they come to fruition in the future. SWIFT says the potential issue makes interoperability solutions a top priority for the organization. And according to SWIFT, its new connector tech had already enabled seamless transactions between different blockchain-based CBDC systems, which were built on completely different frameworks. Quoting them again, SWIFT, to counter this fragmentation, had prioritized focus within the innovation agenda on interoperability for digital currencies and tokenized assets to enable them to seamlessly scale when they are deeply into the financial ecosystem. Its specific work on CBDCs began more than 18 months ago, and in the first phase of its experiment and sandbox testing, almost 5,000 transactions were simulated between 2 different blockchain networks and with existing fiat-based payment systems. Now, central and commercial bank participants noted that the connector enabled the seamless exchange of CBDCs, even for those built on different platforms. So there you have it. There may be literally 100 different future CBDCs, and they're working on interoperability, which ultimately means a way for them to communicate with one another. All I got to say is this: just say no to CBDCs and just say yes to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the ultimate antidote and answer to the central bank digital currency enslavement system, which will absolutely be rolling out. And with that being shared, now let's break down this ongoing inflation crisis taking place right now in countries around the world, including Argentina, where if you go out to dinner, you need a stack of fiat currency to even cover your bill, thanks to hyperinflation. Let's break this down and shout out to Javier Milei. Here we go. September 14th, 2023, Tucker Carlson posted an interview on the social media platform X with Argentine economist, businessman, and politician Javier Milei. And I believe that interview is close to already receiving 400 million views and is going absolutely viral. His advice to the world is the following: never embrace socialism or the siren song of social justice. In the video, Carlson remarks on Argentina's beauty, but notes that dinners at restaurants use large stacks of fiat currency for meals. That's right. How many of you watched this interview? Let me know. I highly encourage you to do so if you haven't. And also, it's subtitled in English. You can find that on Tucker Carlson's X account, just FYI. So in August, Argentina's inflation rate hit a whopping 124.4%, leading to a major cost of living crisis. The economic downturn troubling Argentina has bolstered Milei's popularity. And when Carlson asked about the inflation, Milei Milei said it stemmed from socialism's shortcomings, quoting him here. The issue is that Argentina began to embrace socialism over 100 years ago, Milei told Carlson. The analogy of frogs in a pot of water is useful here. When you can turn up the heat slowly, the frogs don't realize it until the time comes when they try to jump out and it's too late and they end up dead. Great analogy, right? Milei said that while socialism initially seemed appealing in Argentina, it's a flawed economic system. He described a socialist system as, if there is a need, there is a right. It is a problem because there can be infinite needs, but someone always has to pay for those rights, and the resources for that are finite. That sparks a conflict between infinite needs and finite resources. And he also said the conflict is easy to resolve through economic freedom and private property. This is a natural mechanism to resolve this tension in society, but socialists don't much like the invisible hand. They prefer the claws of the state. Preach. Now, Argentina's general election is set to be October 22nd, just a few weeks out, and a major political shift is anticipated. Milei plans to reduce the government's footprint by eliminating 10 ministries and aims to significantly decrease the public spending. He also intends to adopt another currency or commodity as his administration dissolves Argentina's central bank. And in his conversation with Carlson, Milei stressed the state does not create wealth, the state destroys it. The politician ardently champions the virtues of free markets, asserting that the non-aggression principle is the optimal path of the well-being of the Argentine citizens. Quoting him again, socialists hide it behind the disclosure of social justice. This is sort of social justice is deeply unjust because it is premeditated by unequal treatment under the law and preceded by a robbery. Now, much respect to Javier Milei for calling out the central bankers. Also like to point out that Max Keiser, the high priest of Bitcoin and senior Bitcoin advisor to Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, knowing El Salvador is the first country to put Bitcoin on make it a legal tender in their country. Max says he is going to be orange pilling Javier Milei and flying down to Buenos Aires because unfortunately Tucker didn't ask him any Bitcoin related questions. So Max says he's going to finish the job. If you'd like to see that interview between Max Keiser and Javier Milei, specifically focused on Bitcoin, let me know, chat, and I can't wait for that to go down. I absolutely know that's going to be fireworks. Now let's discuss this $150,000 Bitcoin price rally. According to Glassnode Analytics co-founders, how many of you would love to see the Bitcoin price surpass the current all-time high and smash that six-figure milestone? Let me know, chat. So here we go. According to Glassnode founders Jan and Yan, Bitcoin has reclaimed the 26th level as support, 26 Gs, and Bitcoin's risk signals appears to have been taken a nosedive. Bitcoin's risk signal is a metric from Glassnode that gauges the level of risk of a major price drawdown for Bitcoin. Here's what they go on to share. The US CPI jump by 0.6% was expected to stir the Bitcoin price, and guess what? It has. Reclaiming support above 26,000, Bitcoin is now eyeing a breakout past 27,000 and potentially exiting a multi-week range. Send it. Let's go. Risk signals nosedive into the 60s signifies this attitude shift. Profit booking pressure may loom around 27,400 and 28,200, but this climb seems poised as a step before tackling the psychological barrier at 30 Gs. Now, currently, the yearly high, just FYI, is just at roughly that $32,000 level. Now, last week, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed the CPI rose from 0.2% in July to 0.6% in August, and the release of the data coincided with a bump in crypto and equities. The Glassnode founders, who go synonymously as Negentropic on the social media platform X, appear to be forecasting a longer-term rally for Bitcoin to much higher prices. The analysts share a chart, which you can see here on your screen, suggesting the Bitcoin has bounced off of a large ascending channel and is set to start rising to the upper end of the channel, which is near $150,000 per coin, where the greed, euphoria, and FOMO could occur. So there you have it, fam. How many of you would love to see the Bitcoin price action soar above and beyond 100,000, hitting the $150,000 mark, and yeah, going absolutely bonkers? Let me know, fam, in the comments right down below. And now let's break down Michael Saylor's $5 million price prediction and his latest analysis on the 3 catalysts that will send the Bitcoin price to new all-time highs, and his prediction of what he sees coming for 2024. I just transcribed this personally. It's never been shared before that I could find. So you're going to be getting the exclusive right here on Crypto News Alerts. So let's break this down, shall we? A massive shout out to Michael Saylor. Here's what he had to share. I think there are only 3 things relevant right now, and here are the 3 things. The halving is coming with 100% certainty. He is right, because the halving is scheduled to take place in April of 2024, roughly 6 months out. Now, as far as I can see, most of the selling of Bitcoin in the market is the Bitcoin miners that have to sell in order to pay their electricity bills and pay their debt expenses as well as their operating expenses. So that amount of selling pressure is going to be cut in half in a few months. So we know that is coming. And then we know there is a spot Bitcoin ETF coming. And when that comes, we plug into Wall Street and the entire banking system. And then finally, the fair value accounting is coming. And when that happens, the objective will go away. And now you're going to introduce this as a conversation into hundreds of boardrooms. They will not move in a week. They move quarterly, but over the course of 12 quarters, you'll start to see company after company looking at this, and you'll start to see a reallocation of assets. That's right. And at the end of the day, corporations only hold 2 assets. They hold cash and they hold bonds. And so if Bitcoin is available as an asset pari passu to a bond, then you'll see the reallocation from bonds to Bitcoin. And then in the institutional investor side, you've got all of these people holding real estate, holding commodities, holding gold, holding ETF and S&P indexes and the like. And if they start to reallocate, and they will, 1% and 2% and 5%, then you're going to have something that has never happened in the history of the world, which is you've got an ETF on a commodity that is scarce. Every other ETF in the world is on an asset that is not scarce. It's inflationary. Facts. And you can make more buildings, you can make more real estate, you can make more gold, you can make more commodities, you can make $4 billion worth of any of those things. The underlying producers produce more of the asset to deflate or to depreciate the price. FYI, that's how they control, manipulate the precious metal markets, fam. Now with Bitcoin, when $100 billion flows into the Bitcoin spot ETF, there won't be any ability for any producer to produce any more Bitcoin. And so you can't really compare it to a spot ETF of gold, because gold is an inflationary asset, and you can't compare it to the ETFs on real estate or on bonds or on equity. You really have to say this is the first time we have ever plugged Wall Street into an asset that you cannot produce any more of. Preach. And so nobody knows what will happen, except that if you reason from first principles, you know that it has got to actually perform better than all the other asset ETFs, because the underlying fundamentals are just better. But let me lay out 3 possible ways to invest into Bitcoin. One, if you buy Bitcoin, the underlying asset. The second, if you buy the spot ETF. And the third is you buy MicroStrategy. Okay, we talked about the headaches of buying Bitcoin, the underlying asset. You have to do it on a crypto exchange and put in place parallel custody, compliance, compensation control systems. So that's the challenge of that. The closest thing, the most compelling idea for a plain vanilla Bitcoin investment of an institutional investor is you buy the spot ETF. You'll be getting 1-to-1 correlation. So for $1 million you put in, you're getting $1 million worth of Bitcoin. What's the positive? It's marginal. It's good collateral. I can buy in a second, no money down, and I don't need to build parallel custody control compensation systems. So all my problems are handled by Wall Street. What's the cost? 50 to 100 basis points a year. Okay, so if I charge you 1% per year over the course of 20 years, or over the course of your lifetime, it means that I take 20% of the money you invested at 1%. So there is a cost. 50 basis points means I get 10% of your money, approximately. But having said all that, I would pay you 50 to 100 basis points in order to be plugged into the Wall Street, and it's not a problem. It is a lot better than the alternative, which is rebuild all their systems and then finance themselves. So MicroStrategy is not that. MicroStrategy you can think of a levered long Bitcoin company that pays you a yield. Okay, so I'm not going to call it an ETF because we are not a financial company, but we have $4.4 billion plus of a Bitcoin and $2 billion plus of debt. So what we have done is we have levered the balance sheet with debt and cost us about 1.5% interest. So MicroStrategy takes advantage of its position as an operating company to do something that an ETF can't do. An ETF can't issue junk bonds. An ETF can't issue convertible bonds. An ETF can't do like an ATM like we can do. An ETF can't buy Bitcoin with cash flows. So we have a lot of flexibility as an operating company, and we don't charge that fee. So we have $4.5 billion of Bitcoin, but we don't charge $45 million per year. So the real idea here is, what if I created an investment vehicle that paid you a yield instead of charging you a fee? And what if I was able to borrow money at 1.5% interest? I borrowed $1 billion at 0% interest and bought Bitcoin with it. How many of you would like that offer, fam? Being able to borrow $1 billion at 0% interest and just buy all the Bitcoin you can with it? Score! Talk about winning. Let me give you a theoretical. If you get a 2% yield instead of paying a 1% fee, it's a 60% difference over the lifetime of your asset. So if you have $1 billion invested and you're getting a 2% yield, you're actually picking up $20 million a year instead of paying $10 million a year. So the dynamic of the company is very important. So you can imagine that if I don't charge you a fee and if I have cheap leverage and stock, the benefit accrues to the common stock shareholders because I went and I borrowed $2.2 billion at 1.5% interest and I bought Bitcoin with it. So what's the logical theoretical yield of Bitcoin? Is it more than 1.5% a year? Well, let's say it's 15% a year. Then we're scraping 14% positive real yield off of the debt. And so that would be 14% of $1 billion or more, which is actually 14% of $2.2 billion. So that would be $300 million a year that accrues to the benefit of the common stock shareholders. You see, this is the benefit of being an operating company. We can every quarter choose what to do. So some quarters we would issue junk bonds. Other quarters we would issue convertible bonds. Other quarters we sell the equity. Other quarters we would just use our own cash. So the answer is there is always going to be a good market and there is always going to be a bad market. There are things you should do and there are things you shouldn't do. So MicroStrategy, to make a long story short, is a bit more complicated than a spot ETF, right? If you want something plain vanilla and simple, then you should basically correlate one-to-one with Bitcoin after you pay the fee. Then you buy the spot ETF. But if you wanted to actually try to outperform Bitcoin like MicroStrategy's outperform Bitcoin, our performance over the course of 3 years is higher than Bitcoin's performance. So if you want to outperform Bitcoin or outperform the spot ETF, you would do that by creative financings. Like, for example, if our stock trades at a 30% premium to the underlying asset and we sell $1 billion of equity, we actually captured $300 million of accretion to our shareholders. And also, he also goes on to share that, first of all, Bitcoin is going to go up by a factor of 10, whether they can fix any of this stuff. It is going to be a grind up by a factor of 10 just because gold is broken, and Bitcoin is going to replace gold. And now everybody in the universe knows they need a non-sovereign store value in the form of a bearer instrument. For the last year, people said inflation may be coming. We are not sure. Now the mainstream narrative has flipped. Inflation is here. You need the inflation hedge. So it is going to grind up to replace gold. It'll go to $500,000 per Bitcoin, regardless of whether they fix these things. Here are the 3 things that are massive catalysts that caused an acceleration. And those 3 things don't take us to 500,000 per Bitcoin. They take us to $5 million per coin. Those 3 things are what I just previously mentioned. Number 1, the spot ETF, where someone can go ahead and buy 100 million worth of Bitcoin via an ETF security. I think that's one. And number 2, your bank is going to custody it for you so you can lend against it. And number 3, I can mark it up or down on my balance sheet based upon its fair value. It'll be pari passu to the way I handle Apple stock, or at least that good. And if you have property with fair value accounting, by the way, it becomes pari passu to the way you handle treasury bonds on a treasury balance sheet. Treasuries are better than stocks because treasury is property, whereas a stock is a security, and you're capped out at 40% of your balance sheet on securities. So it would be a major breakthrough if you saw any of those 3 things. I'll end with this one observation I tweeted last week, and I believe it's very powerful. If the banks can hold the stuff on their balance sheet, then a whole new class of investors are going to buy it. People are going to put in $1 billion and multi-billion-dollar orders to buy it as a treasury asset. Nobody is going to sell Bitcoin because there is no reason to sell it if you can simply borrow against it. Makes a lot of sense, right? So you'll be borrowing against Bitcoin. Nobody is ever going to sell it. And then, as I joked, you won't be able to afford it. Well, you'll be able to afford it, but everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Breach. And when the banks normalize it and you can draw a $100 million credit line at 100 basis points from an FDIC insured bank, at that point, we're going to blow through the market cap of gold by a factor of 10, ultimately meaning he believes the Bitcoin market cap will hit $100 trillion, which is what, 200x from here, considering we're $500 billion today. Now, I think the best thing is those three things are likely to happen. I don't know if they happen in 36 months or 24 months or 12 months, but I'd be shocked if it's more than 36 months. And I hope it doesn't happen in 12 months, because my view is the longer it takes, the more progressive the grind, the more time I have to accumulate and buy more of it. So there you have it, fam. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the one and only Michael Saylor. Now, massive shout out to everyone in the live chat. Now it's time to do our live Q&A. If you gain value out of today's episode, the greatest compliment you can do, simply smash that like button and turn on all notifications. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, smash that subscribe button and please support the new channel, which could be found at clips.cryptonewsalerts.net. Now let's get it. Shout out to Maximus, shout out to Dankness, shout out to our mods, Baz Dragon, UK in the building, Jeff Jack Jiong, what is good fam? We got Joe, we got Game Dudes, we got Rave Elevator, what is poppin'? Family is everything, what a great username, preach. What's up fam? Michael Anthony in the building, Bitcoin Trini, Baba Fru Nito. I'm gonna start rattling out everyone's comments out loud. Passive income with AI, appreciate you tuning in. Ron P, welcome, God bless you too fam. Appreciate ya. Black Swan the Dawn, welcome. What is good? The more having, the more scarce. The more scarce it is, the higher the price. Preach passive. Black Swan says, I predict the next bear market will be driven by a hard fork attack by BlackRock in 2025 to 2026. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing. Yes, this is pod number 1404. Let's freaking go. I am an OG. Bring it. I appreciate the fam and the ongoing support over the years. Good evening, fam from the UK. Way up like a jalapeno. Word. Great analogy. Good evening. What up? Florida in the building. Shout out to all my fam in Florida. Pacific Bitcoin Conference is October 4th, 5th, and the 6th. Points out Ron. Cool. Where is that specific conference located? Jimmy Song, Foss, and Max, the High Priest, and Stacy. Wow. Yeah, let me know where that is. Can anyone smell a bull run? I can smell it. 100%. I was with Max in El Salvador last year, says Ron. That's badass. You guys ever hear the hip hop song, Drop and Get Jesus Over the Goalpost of Life? I have never heard that. I must be out of the loop. Just saying. What's up, Tim's Crypto? Welcome, fam. Checking in from Okinawa, Japan, says Zap, and smashing that like button, but I'm off to work. Appreciate it. It's going to be a damn good show. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Thank you for continuing to tune in. As soon as I get my assets off, I'll close the account. A little bit of a warning regarding what's that exchange? Robinhood. So Tim says, do not trust Robinhood exchange. He says they are terrible and to spread the word. So I'm spreading the word. Good stuff. Baz says, I think Gensler has the job of keeping the price low until the Bitcoin is in the American hands. And they now realize that it is how they retain their position as a global powerhouse. It does seem to be this way. What's governments crave is power. I am not saying that that's a good thing. That's right. Power corrupts 100%. Hey there, fam. What's up, Mr. Still Stacking? Morning, JV and the crew. It's been a while. Welcome, Will Stopson versus Guru. Appreciate you. Driving from northern Michigan to Chicago. Thanks for keeping the company. You're very welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Safe travels. Good stuff. At the halving nears, it'll slowly increase in the 6 months to come. I think so as well. I think we'll likely to continue marching forward, onwards and upwards. Bitcoin Trini, appreciate the support. Bajar Nilsson, greetings from Norway. Shout out to Norway. I've been watching your show for a few weeks now. Great proof of work, JV. Thank you, fam. Appreciate it. Means a lot. $0 G Row says CBDCs to the moon. Yeah, right. Russell Brand speaking too many truths for some people's liking. This is the establishment and media trying to shut him up. It does seem to be this way, and that really does sadden me. It truly does. It's because he is outspoken. It is the old. It is the absolutely ball, and people know, Russell, we stand by you. So there you have it. Support your show, and I'm always telling others about your quality daily broadcast. Appreciate you, says Yo-Yo. Thank you. Patricia says some old tricks that they'd use when people are outspoken as they get scared. Russell Brand is innocent, and we know it. We need to support him. Word up. Some states might adopt CBDCs because they need federal funding. Great point. They're going to be incentivized to do so. Makes sense. Rave Elevator. I just saw Michael Saylor's speech from 3 hours ago on Bitcoin coming to Wall Street. I'm curious that maybe the speech I just transcribed transcribed for you because I just found it this morning. All the serious stackers are in the building. Shout out to all my long-term hodlers as well. Let's get it. Good day, JV and Crypto News Alerts fam. Appreciate it, Cryptic Sniper. Much love. Why do Bitcoiners want a Lambo? Because Ferrari is owned by Fiat. That's freaking hilarious. Preach. JV, save Russell, save them all. Tates, Trump, Alex Jones, word up. Kevin says no. Maximus says, we stand by Russell. Mr. Still Stack says, Bitcoin is my stable coin. McLovin says, do you think we'll ever see significant drop for Bitcoin before the bull run starts? Many macro analysts are calling for this. Yeah, typically they're going to try to, scare you out before it pumps. So typically before a massive parabolic rise, we have some sort of drop followed by some unprecedented FUD, and then people get scared. Oh, we're going to drop so much lower, and then we do a complete 180 and we just head north. I mean, I would expect that. So just got to have diamond hands and hold down the fort. We also have a question in our Discord. I encourage everyone to join our Crypto News Alerts fam in our Discord. It's discord.cryptonewsalerts.net. We have an Ask a Question channel. And Dankness has a good question. How might Bitcoin's potential as a censorship-resistant asset impact the strategies that corrupt officials use to hide ill-gotten gains? Well, first and foremost, it's the blockchain. Unlike cash, you can't hide it. It's a public ledger. So it's going to help us get rid of these corrupt mofos in power. So it changes the entire game. It completely obliterates, I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that word right, my apologies, but it destroys the ability for scammers such as you just mentioned to continue to do shady things behind the scenes, because everything would be on the public ledger and everyone will be held accountable for, receiving and sending Bitcoin on the public ledger. So yeah, it could end corruption, to answer your question, and I think that would be obvious. Bubba says, hi, JB. How you doing? What ratio does 100 billion bring to the Bitcoin market cap of the bull run? Bank of America says the ratio is 1 to 108. Then I see 5 million in 2024 and 25. I will not sell my Bitcoin. Interesting. I don't really know regarding the ratios, but that's a great question, great insights. I appreciate you sharing. I think it's possible, but if so, it'll be very short-lived, I think. Just keep stacking them sats. Everything will be cool. Everything's going to be all right now, as long as you're stacking sats, fam. Where is the good Bitcoin FUD? There's never any good Bitcoin FUD, except when you tune into my show. I'm just saying, from the mainstream, don't expect it. I just stacked a few sats in the mini dip and sent it back up again. That's what's up, Baz. Fireside chat with Milei, Bukele, and Kaiser. Bring it. How cool would that be, Will Bot? Michael Anthony, market sell-off Friday. That market was overbought. All you got to do is watch an interview with Saylor and Bitcoin will make perfect sense. Preach. Start with Breedlove and Saylor, 100%. McLovin, exactly. If I ever feel a bit overexposed, I watch him. For real, the first hour of the latest with Nick Paisa is so base. Price level is the only way to find the supply. This is epic. Family is everything. What up? New Saylor interview today. Search Bitcoin 2023. That's what's up. Bitcoin is coming to Wall Street. It's inevitable. Of course, we have the same inspirations. Good to note. And of course, you guys, if you want to spread the word of Saylor, that interview I read for you earlier, I transcribed that myself because I couldn't find it anywhere. I listened to the audio version, transcribed it because I couldn't find it in article format. So if you guys want to reference it and retweet it, that'll help out tremendously with spreading the adoption and spreading the message from the Giga Chad. You'll find that post on my X account. You'll also find it if you go in the description below this video. I always reference in the resources where I'm referencing these insights, and you'll find that link as well directly to the post. I appreciate it. Xmas is going to be an awesome this year. The halving will just be around the corner, so no dark winter night blues. Preach, Boz. Hello, BTFD, you already know. Jack says, I was at Costco a bit ago and got a hot dog, and that's still $1.50, and they gave us a drink. Talk about hedge against inflation. What the? Costco got some killer deals, because you're a part of their club. Audio quality is sounding good. Thank you, Mike Duncan. I appreciate that. Appreciate the feedback. I trust Saylor, says McLovin. McLovin, Saylor is very base. Felix Hopkins says, I am questioning whether I am too late, as I could only start stacking from 2021. Well, there's never too late. The true my true thought is the best time to be stacking is always going to be yesterday, but better 2021 than, a couple of years later. Now, you obviously may have started stacking around the high as we hit the all-time high of 69,000, but if you have a long-term perspective and you dollar cost average, it'll all work out for you over the long haul, as it is a fact. Every 4-year hodler is in the green when it comes to Bitcoin, meaning as long as you don't sell and you hold on for the long haul, you're going to be a winner over the long haul, because Bitcoin, history has shown us, appreciates approximately 200% per year since the inception, almost 15 years out, fam. So continue stacking and have no fear. Bitcoin is here. Penny, what's up? Good old-fashioned stocks is still the safest investment for the rich. Bitcoin needs the rich to invest, or it's not going anywhere. Whatever it created with BRICS currency will be the new standard. I disagree. I don't think stock market needs Bitcoin. I think Wall Street needs Bitcoin. Or I should say, I don't think Bitcoin needs Wall Street. Wall Street needs Bitcoin. You know what I mean? And that's what the ETF is going to give us. But look at it. We've gotten this far without a spot ETF, or without Wall Street, without major institutions like BlackRock. We still hit 69,000. So could you imagine when the actual ETFs start getting approved, a dozen of them just like that, the largest ones in the world, coming from BlackRock, Fidelity, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, exciting times ahead. Ambrosia Chocolate Factory, welcome. Am I too late to be dollar cost averaging? No. So to answer your question, you're not too late. Just keep getting it. Accretion equals slow accumulation or growth. Thank you for breaking that down stat-wise. Daniel McConnell, get it, JV. Let's get it. I am never afraid to look up a word. Same here. Every time I do my show, I have to look up words. Also, how to pronounce the words so I don't look like a damn fool. But you know how many episodes I've done out of the, where are we at, 1404, where I've straight up murdered the word. Like, instead of catastrophe, I say catastrophe. You know what I mean? Completely messing them up. So I've learned so much just reading the news on a daily basis, and I'm very grateful for that. And continuing to learn every day, continuing to add new words to my vocabulary. The Argentine election will send waves all over. Facts. Good stuff. A Jewish scholar asked his rabbi, why did God create non-Jews? Without hesitation, the rabbi said, my son, somebody has to pay retail. Oh yeah, JV, I'm confusing why Javier's election is so important. I thought it was for the US dollar. Well, here's why it's important. It's the hyperinflation. Their economy is being destroyed by the central bankers. Now, Javier says if he is elected, and right now he's leading the polls with over 40% of the vote, that he is going to, I think, back Argentina with the dollar somehow to make their local currency more stable. Now, obviously, if he gets orange-pilled from Max Keiser, who is the senior Bitcoin advisor for Bukele over in El Salvador, there's a good chance they can adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender, which would be an absolutely game changer considering how large their population is. We all know it's in their best interest as well. And I don't doubt Max. Max is responsible for orange-pilling the greatest legends in Bitcoin today, including Ricardo Salinas, who is the third richest man in Mexico, people like Michael Saylor in the list. Goes on and on. Russell Brand, Alex Jones, you name it. The shortest Bitcoin joke ever. Bitcoin is dead. That's a good one. 100% fam. Obliterate. Thank you. I don't know what I was trying to pull from the ether earlier. Pun intended. Pull from the ether. Appreciate it, fam. That's actually a Jewish inside joke I heard Eric Weinstein tell. I shouldn't be telling Jewish jokes because I am not Jewish, but you forced me into it, so it's your fault, stat-wise. The banks keep printing, says Felix Hopkins. 100%. And why do you think they continue to print? Because they can continue to get away with it. As long as they continue to get away with it and we don't, you know what I mean, we acquiesce to that fact, they'll keep doing it until the wheels fall off. And then as soon as the dollar dies and it stops being accepted by countries around the world, like kind of like what we're seeing right now with the de-dollarization with BRICS, then they'll launch their CBDC, which is in, pilot programs right now. So I hope Congress continues to do the right thing with their anti-CBDC bill, as well as the others who are standing up against the central bank digital currencies, because you don't want central bankers issuing issuing you forms of money which can be programmable, which means there can be an expiration date. So hypothetically, you can have $500 on a CBDC, and then it expires in 12 months, encouraging you to spend it versus save. You know what I mean? That's not a good look. Or what if, because you said something that went against the status quo on social media, you have a bad social credit score, like in China, and then they limit what you can purchase with your CBDC. Maybe they say you're not allowed to travel. You've been saying some things going against the status quo, and all of a sudden now you can't buy airfare or do any sort of travel, anything related to travel. You know what I mean? So that's not a good look. Bitcoin is uncensorable. It is borderless. It's incorruptible. It's unconfiscatable. So it is the solution. It's just a peer-to-peer monetary network. It is the strongest monetary network. It is the most scarce finite asset. And I love what Michael Saylor said. There's never been an ETF with a scarce asset. It's just, you know what I mean? Or a commodity in this case. So when you have a finite limited supply asset, unlike gold, what do you think is going to happen? It's just going to go to the moon. The total addressable market is north of $700 trillion. So just 1% of the total addressable market pouring into Bitcoin, which absolutely will eventually do, it's inevitable, is going to send the Bitcoin price parabolic, as high as you can imagine. And what happens if 5, 10, 20% of that funds, of that $700 trillion total addressable market, finds itself into Bitcoin? Woo! That's when you see these 5, 10, 15, $20 million Bitcoin price predictions coming true, which I feel is inevitable. I think Bitcoin is more likely to hit Michael Saylor's $5 million price prediction than go to zero. But what are your thoughts, fam? Let me know. Glad to read your comments out loud. That's a good way to put it. Baz, word up. Baz says you can't be late if Bitcoin is going to at least 2x, at least in the next couple of years. Imagine a bank account where your money doubles every year or so. That's facts. Also, you got like a 70% discount off the all-time high right now. I'd much rather be stacking sats at 26,000 versus 69. We already know Bitcoin's capable of hitting 69. It already achieved it. We also got to consider when Bitcoin soared after the COVID crash of 2020, Bitcoin dropped all the way down to that $3,500 mark. And by the end of 2021, the following year, the year preceding the halving, Bitcoin climbed to that all-time high of 69,000. And there was a time frame specifically in 2021 before hitting that all-time high. Bitcoin soared within 60 days, if my memory serves correct. Within a 60-day period, that's 2 months, Bitcoin went from $16,000 a coin to 69,000. So when Bitcoin rips, fam, it rips quick. And you got to seize the moment. If you're on the sidelines just waiting for the perfect price action, which will never exist, then you may miss out like a lot of people did back in 2020 and 2021. So considering the previous all-time high is roughly 69,000, if we only 2x to the next halving cycle peak, which would be extremely conservative, we're still realistically talking about $138,000 Bitcoin price action. So run the math. What is 138,000 divided by 26? I don't know, is that 5, 6x, somewhere in that ballpark? Somebody break that down for me who has a calculator. But that means the potential is so much greater going north than the potential to go down. Because what's the worst Bitcoin can do? Well, the current low for the cycle is 15.7. What's the likelihood of Bitcoin being cut in half and chopped in half at 26 all the way down to 13? Very improbable. Anything's possible, but very improbable. But Bitcoin is very probably going to go to 138,000 plus. And again, that's conservative. Let me know your facts, what you guys think. Shout out to facts out here in the chat. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Do you feel the previous all-time high was cut short? Yes, it was, because of the collapse of FTX and Terra Luna and all the shenanigans going on in the market. So 100%, it could have just kept going. And again, fam, that's with 0 spot Bitcoin ETFs. So could you imagine Bitcoin price peaking after the halving coming up in 6 months with spot Bitcoin ETFs finally being approved for the first time by the SEC? You know what I mean? Giving them the green light. Game on. Trillions will just, boom, be poured right into Bitcoin's market cap, and nothing can stop it. Yeah, so facts. Does anyone worry about the 4-year cycle will be broken because Bitcoin is becoming less of a currency and more of a store of value or investment? I was pondering this yesterday. Well, until that 4-year cycle breaks, then I'll consider it. But right now, we've been like clockwork. The Previous cycles have been, every 4 years. For example, I got started in Bitcoin in 2017. 2016 was a halving. In 2017, when I first discovered Bitcoin, it was like $1,500. Then that year preceding that halving in 2016, we shot up to 20,000, right? Then we had a bear market, 2018, 2019, 2020. That's when we started pumping once again. And then by 2021, we hit the 69,000 all-time high, blowing right past that 20,000 previous all-time high. So I expect Bitcoin to do the same movement effortlessly, only with larger numbers. Now that there's more adoption, the network is that much more stronger, there's the institutional level, and so many other catalysts which did not exist back in the previous halving. That's my thoughts, fam. Let me know what you guys think. When it went from $7 to $100, people thought they were too late. Facts. When it went to $1, people were like, oh, it's too late. It's the same value as the dollar. I could have got it at a penny or a fraction of a penny. You know what I mean? People are always going to beat themselves up and think they made the worst move or that it's too late. It's just the nature of human psychology. It's just the way we're wired, the way we're taught. Should I go all in now, sir? I do not give financial advice. You got to do your research, learn about Bitcoin, understand it, and understand that this is a long-term play, and do what you feel is in your family's best financial interest. Also, never invest what you can't afford to lose, even with Bitcoin. If all you had to your name right now was $1,000 and you had nothing in the bank, I wouldn't suggest investing into anything. I'd invest into getting a job and producing some income so that you can continue to afford food for your family. Just keeping it real. Don't do that desperate stuff like I have nothing, but should I go all in on Bitcoin? No. You know what I mean? When you start making enough money and you have enough to put aside as an investment, then consider it. That's just smart investing 101 practice, right? Only invest what you can afford to lose. So anything you invest, in the back of your mind, you got to think, what if this went to zero? Will I be okay? And if the answer is no, maybe you shouldn't be an investor. Maybe you should double down on your jobs. You know what I mean? Facts. I'm just trying to keep it real so that nobody gets hurt. Expect the unexpected. Anything can happen. Wish I would have held on to a few hundred BTC I had in what? $0 G. What? You had a few hundred Bitcoin in 2010. Good Lord. Well, what did you do with it? And please don't tell me you purchased pizza. Please don't say that, fam. I could have got in at 20, but it went to 100, and I thought I was too late. Then it came back to 75, and I took the leap of faith. Wow, what a story. Facts. And the pending supply shock from the exchanges drying up. Facts. Mr. Still Stacking, 100%. Bitcoin supply shock incoming, we already know it. It's absolutely. Kaiser, welcome. Word. Good stuff. So incredible. Yeah. Definitely with all the FUD and collapses. Exactly. Don't sell Bitcoin for USD when USD is gone. We'll spend our Bitcoin on goods and services. That's right. Why would you ever want to trade your Bitcoin for dollars knowing dollars is crap? And dollars can also realistically go to zero at any time. In fact, there is a way stronger probability that the US dollar goes to zero than Bitcoin. Just saying the obvious. So only keep enough fiat that you can afford to lose. Only keep enough, fiat dollars in the bank that you're affording to lose. Because what if it goes to zero? What if we wake up tomorrow and the US dollar is worthless and they roll out these CBDCs? Then what, fam? So be prepared for all scenarios. I'd much rather be holding Bitcoin versus dollars. What's the upside? Bitcoin go to the moon. You can 100, 200x your investment. What's the upside for dollars? It's guaranteed to go down in purchasing power. Mathematically guaranteed. It's a certainty, right? Because the more you print, the less scarce it becomes, and the more in abundance it becomes, and the less valuable it becomes. You know what I mean? Pun intended, bull. Value bull. That was kind of funny. Anyways, I could have got, it is what it is. Don't beat yourself up, fam. Yep, brother bought pizza and weed. Good Lord, you gotta be kidding me. No comment. Pound stinks. They keep printing. Yes, all fiat sucks and will eventually go to zero against Bitcoin. All assets will go to zero against Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the apex predator, fam. Just saying. I didn't understand it then. I was orange-pilled in 2016. Well, you were very early, so count your blessings. How many of us didn't get started in Bitcoin till way many years later? Chris D, man, everything tells me to get out of the United States. I don't blame you, fam. What are some alternative options? I'm in Puerto Rico. It's still considered a territory of the U.S., but obviously it's separated. It's a little island. I like it because there's a lot of advantages to being here, especially for investors. I'm not going to get into it deep here today, but you guys probably know what I'm talking about. Also, El Salvador is a great place to be. I mean, it's very tempting. There's also some very advantageous advantages, obviously for Bitcoin holders, with Bitcoin being a legal tender, tax advantages, all that, and I think it's only going to get better and better. Where do you think is the right place to relocate if you had to relocate, fam? Let me know. Albright for life. I hate what they did to him. So much injustice we experience. It is sad. It makes me sad. Smart weed dealer who accepts Bitcoin, right? Hopefully he hodled and didn't smoke away his profits. Everyone tells me, it is what it is. I feel ya. I had that feeling to get out of the United States back in 2018. So what did I do? I left the United States and I relocated with my family to Puerto Rico. And I am very, very glad and I feel very blessed that I was able to do so. If Puerto Rico wasn't an option, then I'd probably be in El Salvador, or let me rephrase that. If El Salvador was the option in 2018 and Bitcoin was already a legal tender, I probably would have chose El Salvador over Puerto Rico. But I happen to be here now and I planted my flag. It kind of just is what it is. But I'm looking forward to visiting El Salvador, and who knows what the future holds. We shall see how it all plays out. But it's very, very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very intriguing to move out there, right? Where you can connect with people who get you, right? Here, still in the United States, not a lot of people understand Bitcoin or get it, but where it's a legal tender, I feel like I would fit right in immediately. How do you guys feel about that? Probably confiscated by the same crook that stole Silk Road's Bitcoin. Thinking of going to Portugal from the UK. Word up, Portugal is a beautiful place, Maximus. Belize is Caribbean and jungle paradise. Penny pincher, coin says taxes. I mean, naturally, to me, it makes sense to move where there's tax advantages. If you don't like taxes, personally, I don't like paying taxes. Not that I don't like contributing. It's because I know the tax money they're collecting is being used towards agendas that go against my belief system. You know what I mean? Things like, I'm not even going to mention on this channel because I don't want my channel to get terminated. Just saying. Are there any Salvadoran restaurants in Puerto Rico? And if so, have you tried pupusas? I've never been to a Salvadoran restaurant. They must exist. I would have to Google it and check it out. I don't think I've ever even had a pupusa. Am I missing out, fam? What do you think? Using my student loan to stack sats, not all, but some legal in the UK. Word up. Are you a U.S. citizen, JV? Yeah. So that was one of the main advantages of coming to Puerto Rico. If you're already a United States citizen, it doesn't even require a passport. Not that I didn't have a passport, but you could maintain your U.S. citizen status. So I am a U.S. citizen. And anyone who moves here, from the United States would still be considered a U.S. citizen, and you can still take advantage of all of the benefits of being here. You know what I mean? Papusas, I ate some yesterday. Are they as delicious as Max Kaiser says? Because he's always talking about papusas as well. They are fire, says Jesse Oro. Well, it seems like I'm missing out then, right? In Texas now, it's good for mining. That's right. Electricity costs are very good in Texas to benefit the miners. Good to note. Texas or Puerto Rico. It's up to you guys. I would also, before just relocating to a new place, visit it firsthand. Before I decided to make the move and plant my flag here, I took a trip out here with the family, met with some realtors, looked around the island, and got a good feel and idea of how it is. And, I like it. It kind of reminded me of Florida, and I was moving from Florida, similar weather, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it just worked out. I thought it was a great move, and I'm glad I made it. Using my student loan, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, Felix. Why did you move to Puerto Rico, says Scott Williams? Just a beautiful alternative. For those that don't know my background, I've lived all over the world. I've lived in Costa Rica. It was the very first country I lived in outside of the United States back when I was a young adult. Spent a few years in Costa Rica, beautiful place to be in Central America. I was in northern Costa Rica. I believe it was Guanacaste province. So it was just north of Nicaragua. In fact, I would do my visa runs in Nicaragua. And below us was Panama. So I got to spend a lot of time in Central America, Latin countries, and I like it. I like the vibes. Me being Italian, I feel like, culture kind of very similar. Good people, good food, nature. I love nature. the fact you can, go in Puerto Rico and just take a coconut off of a tree or a mango and live off the trees, I'm like, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Other countries I've lived in, I spent a lot of time in Thailand. I spent some time in China. I lived there for 13 months. Probably would never recommend China to anybody, but I was a crazy person that just wanted to experience different parts of life, you know what I mean, firsthand, and I was able to do that. I've probably traveled to over 30 countries. I've been to most of the Caribbean islands. I'm in Puerto Rico now. I think it's a great place to be. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of incentives to moving out here, especially for investors. If you get approved for Act 60 and you make this your primary residence, meaning you live on the island 183 days plus out of the year, you can qualify for 0 capital gains taxes on all investments, not just real estate, but cryptocurrency as well. So that should explain a lot. And also for business owners, there's a big incentive where if you qualify as well within Act 60, that there's no federal income tax liability. Instead, we pay a 4% corporate tax locally. So the difference there, just a hypothetical, if you were a business owner, an entrepreneur, and your business was producing hypothetically $1 million of profit per year, you're probably going to end up paying $300,000 to $400,000 in taxes anywhere in the United States. But if you take advantage of some of these tax benefits in Puerto Rico, hypothetically, for example, $40,000 is 4% of $1 million. So would you rather pay $400,000 in taxes at the end of the year or $40,000? So that's obviously pretty big. Now, I know El Salvador offers similar incentives where there's 0 capital gains tax, etc. So there's a lot more options now. Now, if I wasn't a United States citizen, there'd be even more options like Dubai, etc. I know a lot of wealthy people relocate to Dubai. I know there's something like very little or no taxes. But as a U.S. citizen, there's no escaping taxes that I'm aware of, except with relocating to Puerto Rico. And it's not escaping taxes. I still pay taxes, but a minuscule amount compared to what I'd be paying if I still lived in the United States. So that's why, fam. Hopefully that was insightful for you. Just moved to Florida, says Jeff. What part of Florida? Let me know. That's my old stomping grounds, fam. Keto friendly? I don't know what you're referring to. Dollar cost averaging is the way. You already know Felix. Is that 50% of the year? Yes, 50% of the year, 6 months or 183 days. You have to reside here at least 50% of the time for it to be considered your primary residence to take advantage of that act. Restaurant El Estribo in Puerto Rico. There you go, JV. Let's go. He even gave me the address. Good Lord, you the man. Thank you, Juan. Romero. Jesse, what up? JV, my mom was from Thailand. My dad met her there when he was in Yeah, Thailand is one of my favorite countries in the world. And out of all the Asian countries I visited and spent a lot of time in, Thailand is my choice, especially now that cannabis is legal. There's not many Asian countries where cannabis is legal. Just saying. For example, if you get caught smoking cannabis in China, off with his head. Death penalty. No questions asked. That's just the nature of a communist regime. I really want to go to Thailand, says Jesse Oro. Thailand is a beautiful place. I can't wait to go back. JV, you should sell merch like that hat you got on. I do have a store. I appreciate you asking. The link is in the description. You can just visit merch.cryptonewsalerts.net. I need to get some new merch and some more custom stuff, but you can still find some stuff there if you want to help support the show. Another way you can support us is through our Patreon. It's patreon.cryptonewsalerts.net. It helps out a lot because, every dollar I receive that helps to support the show helps me scale the content. Like I just created a new channel and putting a lot more effort, a lot more work, and a lot more hours behind the scene to help usher in this Bitcoin adoption around the world. So if you're capable of becoming a Patreon, there's also a lot of incentives which make it a no-brainer. There's exclusive channels within our Discord server, and all that is listed on the website, patreon.cryptonewsalerts.net. And of course, one other way to help support me, you can zap sats to me at any time. My Lightning address is in the description down below as well. So thank you for asking. How is the cannabis in Puerto Rico? Fan-frickin-tastic. I have my license here. It's medical cannabis is legal, and it's fire. Prices are great, half the price of what it costs in Florida, and you're getting a superior product. So I highly recommend it for those of you looking for that. I used to be heavy invested. It's moving too slow. I've shifted my resources mainly to the real estate, says Dustin Kramer. Word up. Appreciate you tuning in, Dustin. And I love your name, considering my name is Justin. JV, my initials. I used to be, yeah, I mean, you could live like a king in Thailand. Exactly. Facts. Great food, great way of life, beautiful, culture is amazing, good people, just overall great place to be. I'm from Uruguay and crypto investment is tax-free. Wow, that's what's up. Shout out to Man Mist. What up? I'll have to check Portugal out. I heard rumors that there were like zero taxes in Portugal. Someone was sharing with me at the previous Bitcoin conference. I didn't look much into it, but he's like, this is under the radar. This is the best kept secret of the world. Zero taxes. And he kept stressing zero taxes, zero taxes. I have no clue how true it is, but something to look into. You know what I mean? Wow, JV. Thank you, Jeff. Real estate storm brewing. Most people won't make it to 2025. I think RFK wants to waive capital gains tax on Bitcoin. Wouldn't that be great? That'd be fan-freaking-tastic. Confirmed JV puffs. Love it, says Jesse Oro. Yeah, it's my medicine. It's God's medicine, right? It comes from the earth. It's natural. So 100%. Anyways, fam, now for a recap, what I covered with you here in today's show, we broke down the latest technical analysis as Bitcoin price settles at 26,500. We also discuss breaking news of U.S. lawmakers advancing legislation blocking the digital dollar. Good for them. We also discussed that the CBDC pilots are now being tested by 3 central banks, according to SWIFT, as well as the state destroys wealth, according to Javier Milei, on Argentina's inflation crisis. We also discussed unexpected explosive Bitcoin rally to $150,000 per coin, according to Glassnode, as well as the latest prediction for Bitcoin in 2024 from Michael Saylor, who predicts 3 catalysts that are likely to send the Bitcoin price to $5 million and beyond per coin. But where do you feel the Bitcoin price is likely to go next? Let me know in the comments right down below, and don't forget to smash that like button because it helps out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm, and I greatly appreciate everyone's support, and I'll see you all tomorrow.